Okay, let's hit a period conversation on Alpine, and a touch on Andretti, but I will get back to them. Alpine have not had a great start to this season. In fact, I don't think anybody really expected them to be as bad as they have been. There's been glimmers of hope toward it. Why Ocon has made Q2 the last two races, which is very, very good for them. He was celebrating like a race win, and rightfully so, honestly. They both ran in the points in Australia from being out of sync, but they still ran in the points, nonetheless. But other than that, it's been a little grim. Ocon did think he was in the mix for points in Australia before he was struck with brake problems. A helmet tear-off got stuck in his brake duct, apparently, and that made him do an extra stop and wrecked his strategy completely. But Gasly wasn't exactly setting the world alight either, because he did finish 30 seconds behind P12. Suzuka though, the most recent race, they were hopeless. They did, it seems, make contact at the restart, and that gave Gasly damage, which lost him a lot of time and a lot of downforce. But like Gasly in Australia, Ocon wasn't exactly setting the world alight either. He finished one place ahead of his teammate, about 12 seconds ahead of his teammate, and like 20 seconds behind the next car in front or something like that. I don't know kind of Ocon had damage as well, but it was not very good for Alpine. They kind of made a step backwards in Japan. They were just nowhere. The only car that finished behind them was Logan Sargent, who ended up in the freaking kitty litter at one point. And quite frankly, I don't think China will be very good for them either, mainly because Weekend China has very long straights, it has a very, very long back straight, and the Renault engine is not the best on the grid, to word it one way. In fact, I believe it's the worst engine on the grid. Correct me if I'm wrong, please. The drivers will be trying their best with what they have, and that's really all that can be asked of them, that they try their best with the equipment they have, and the equipment they have is questionable at best. And the team will also be trying to improve, and as Gasly said the other week, as long as they're learning and moving forward, that'll be the most important thing. And it's going to be important for them to try and bring the upgrades and move forward and try and do something to stop themselves from finishing last in the Constructors' Championship. Nobody wants to be finishing last, but somebody has to, and at the moment it seems like it's gonna be Alpine. This team has just fallen so far from the highs of the race win in 2021, winning the Hungarian Grand Prix with Esteban Ocon and Fernando Alonso putting up a major defense against Lewis Hamilton. 2022, where despite several engine failures and several reliability problems, they did still finish fourth in the Constructors. Since then, they've fallen so far. They're definitely a long way since their championship winning days back in 2005 and 2006 as Renault, and even further from their days of winning championships as Benetton back in the mid-90s with Michael Schumacher. And you just have to wonder in all this, how patient will Renault be? Will Renault be patient and give the team the time they need to turn this cargo ship around? Because, I mean, let's be fair, I think we all came that turning around an F1 team performance-wise from crap to good, it's no quick and easy task. It's gonna take time. It's like turning a cargo ship opposed to turning a speedboat. But what are the chances that Renault end up saying, nah, sod this, and they put the for sale sign up above the team? Well, that was recently rumoured. There was a rumour recently that Alpine were going to be put up for sale, and apparently any sale of the team would require whoever buys it to stick with the Renault engine for the foreseeable. It's apparently believed to be until 2029, but Alpine have apparently said that it's false and the team is not for sale. But I could see them selling up if the team don't start to improve. And that then begs the question, if the team does get sold, who buys it? Well, this is where I want to come back to Andretti, because I could see them buying their way onto the grid. Because look, F1 does not seem to want to let them in at the moment. I think they'll get there eventually, but F1 doesn't want to let them in. And they are serious. And I reckon they are ready for F1. And as for the Renault engine thing, well, if they did come in 2026, which they're still aiming for, they were, I think, planning for using the Renault engines anyway for a couple of years until Cadillac comes in. But Andretti just opened a new facility in Silverstone, and they continue to prepare for getting into F1, which they are still, of course, targeting for 2026, as I said. The new facility they just opened is apparently 40,000 square feet, and they'll also be eventually taking over an adjacent 70,000 square foot building. Opening this facility, something Andretti global partner Dan Trois said, was a key moment and important step in the team's history. This is what he had to say. I'd say an important step is today. It's opening our facility in Silverstone. It's also continuing to acquire the talent necessary to have the people, the financial resources, the technical resources able to have a competitive team. And so we're assembling the resources. Michael Mara Mario and I have a few things to do behind the scenes, but we're going to be taking care of business there. And so while that's happening, we're continuing to build the team. We just want to keep building. This is an important step today and we'll continue to build. We've got a facility in Fishers that's being built as well, just to make sure that we have a world-class facility for world-class people to build a world-class team. It is important, I think, how Andretti are continuing to build up their F1 facilities and their arsenal, really, behind the scenes, despite not yet having an entry, so that they can be ready when, not if, when they do get that entry. Of course, if they buy out Alpine instead of entering as an 11th team, it might change some of their plans and there'd be things that no doubt have to change logistically probably, but that's not something I'm an expert on, and I mean, a way onto the grid is a way onto the grid. And given F1's reluctance to let them in, it might be their best way. If Alpine do sell, that is. They've said they're not selling up, but I could see it happening. And I mean, how many times in F1 history has someone said, no, that's not true, that's not happening, we're denying that, and then that thing actually ends up happening? I'm thinking Bonozzo being let go, Ricciardo being let go from McLaren, just to name a couple. Michael Andretti also has made some comments recently in regards to Andretti and F1, and this is what he had to say. F1 is obviously the pinnacle of auto racing in the world. We're in all different types of racing series, but to be in F1 is at the top. And so that's why I think it's, for our brand, it'd be huge. And it'll just complete our goal, and that's to be in every single major sporting racing event in the world. And then obviously, getting to F1 is at the top of that. So it's a big goal. It's been a goal of ours for a few years now. And we're right there. We're going to be there. And we feel very strongly that we're going to be there. We're building a fantastic team as well. That's something that's going to be unique to F1. To build a real F1 team from scratch with great brains. This is something that I think could catch a lot of people off guard when we do finally get on the grid. Frankly, I do think Andretti will catch a lot of people off guard. We'll catch a lot of people in F1 off guard when they do get onto the grid, because the way they're building, they could be serious contenders. Maybe not immediately, but they could become serious contenders. Andretti do also have plans eventually to have an F2 and F3 teams to help support the F1 team and to help bring American talent up the ladder into Formula 1. Of course, it wouldn't just be American talent, but American talent onto the grid, which has been a bit lacking recently, despite Logan Sargent. And that will be big for them, and maybe even a WEC team as well, apparently, which, hey, I'm all for. I like WEC. They're also planning to move their Formula E operations from where it's currently located and start integrating it into their new facility and make that place, as is worded here, their hub for European racing. And F1 says they're not serious. I'm sorry, I'm not sure if F1 and the rest of us are looking at the same Andretti, but they seem serious to me. And F1 can only keep them out for so long, you know, whether it's them coming on as an 11th team or buying out an existing team. This has turned into a bit more of a why Andretti need to be on the grid thing opposed to an Alpine or rubbish thing, which was the original intention. You know, the Alpine thing was the original intention of this video, and it still kind of is, but I feel like I did still get my point across and my thoughts across on Alpine, that they need to do something. They need to start bringing the upgrades and starting to improve. I'm not quite sure when their next upgrades are coming. I haven't seen anything about that, but I don't know if they brought any upgrades yet so far. I cannot recall. But while the team isn't for sale, apparently, I could still see it happening. And I think if they do sell, Andretti might be interested, I think. That's where my bets will be placed, on the team that buys Alpine if they do sell. But what's your thoughts on Alpine, on Andretti, on all of this? Let me get your thoughts down in the comments below. Drop a like if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you're new around here. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.